Welcome, it's your local fanfiction writer, and today we are blessed with light. I'm starting the video lighthearted because this is gonna probably get a bit heavy. First of all, a disclaimer: if you're under 18, please leave, because I am gonna discuss not safe for work event that has been going on in the month of October, Kinktober, if you will. And since it's a not safe for work event, children should not be a part of the conversation. Children should not talk about it, should not be a part of the Kinktober event at all. Oh my god. So if you're a kid, please leave. I'm 20. I know I don't look like that, but I am 20, so I can talk about it. Secondly, a bit of a trigger warning. I'm gonna say a general trigger warning. On the screen are gonna appear eventually more detailed trigger warnings. Some that I'm sure will be needed are mention of grooming, sexual assault, and kinks of various kind. Just like my last long video, because I think this is gonna be long, I have a sort of list of things I want to talk about, and I'm gonna ramble on more or less. So first of all, what happened? The thing that happened is nothing weird really, because October is notoriously the month of the kinks. It's Kinktober, and I didn't really know, because I don't participate in Kinktober. I don't really read, I read fics if I have a certain hyperfixation in the month of October, but I don't really like smut without plot, so I am not one of the people that generally is interested in Kinktober. So I didn't know about this whole controversy until a couple of days ago, which, by the way, it's the start of October, but the list for Kinktober came out a while ago. Also, on the matter of lists, there are multiple lists, and the official one everyone is talking about is not official, because there is no official Kinktober list. When I was younger, meaning 2 years ago, when I was 18, there were fandom specific lists, but you can make up your own. There is no official list. You can do whatever you want and call it your own personal Kinktober list. Now, I'm gonna read through the 2025 Kinktober list to, give you an example, to let you know what the big deal was, because people lost their shit about it. And I'm also gonna compare it to the Kinktober list from 2024 and 2023. The 2024 one, I don't know how official, quote unquote, that is, because I wasn't interested at all in 2024, but in 2023 I remember this specific list that I got being the official one. Everyone was looking at that one. Of course, if you don't want to, to listen to me read through the list, oh my god, if you don't want to listen me read through the list, or if you have any particular reasons, you can skip this part. It's gonna be a section of its own. So they also there are 3 prompts for each day. So I'm gonna be day 1 prompt A, B, C, and so on and so forth. I'm gonna read all of them, so it may take a while, also because I have dyslexia. Anyway, so this is Kinktober 2025 prompt list by Kinktober 2025 and Kinktober 2025 on AO3, by the way. The first one is on Tumblr. Day 1 is masturbation, organ control, and incest. Keep in mind the incest. Second, day 2, coming untouched, age play, kidnapping. Day 3, threesome, nipple clamps, alien abduction. Day 4, voyeurism, sounding, hypnosis. 5, finger sucking, wax play, dacrophilia. I am not sure what it is. I'm reading the list through completely now. This is my first time reading the list through. Anyway, 6, outdoor sex, humiliation, intoxication. Day 7, blindfolds, chastity, blood play. 8, webcam figging, cages. 9, exhibitionism, shibari, tentacles. Most of these words, by the way, are probably gonna be censored if they're like too explicit. So I probably write them. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, like you probably will have to read, because I'm certainly censoring some of these words. Day 10, oral sex punishment, CNC. Day 11, licking, handcuffs, somnophilia. 12, work, kneeling, sissification. 13, those dumb bottoms up top, medical play. 14, omegaverse, possessive sex, choking, gagging. 15, semi-public object insertion, sex pollen. 16, remote control, high protocol, fire play. 17, messy sex service kink, hooks. Okay. Okay. 18, size queen, dom sub, genital torture. 19, crab pie, sensory depth, electricity. 20, mirror sex, golden shower, dab con. 21, rimming, forced orgasm, monster fucking. 22, quiet sex, crawling, gunplay. 23, biting, praise kink, and 24, sex gags, non-con. 25, double penetration, impact play, pillory, stocks. 26, what the fuck? 26, lingerie, cold dry, oh my god, I can't read this word, sex robot. 27, hair pulling, animal play, gang. 28, multiple orgasm, S&M, needle play. 29, body worship, omorashi, full body bondage. 30, breeding, fucking machine, degradation. 31, hot tub, sex, food fetish, writer's choice. There are other kinks you can like choose from, or whatever, and there are aftercare, physical, wall sex, sugar baby, uniform kink, free use, temporary, permanent, marks. We're done reading the list, and of course you might have noticed some like immoral kinks, because of course I also like gave a look every time I thought like a kink would be considered immoral, but this 2025 one was really talked about, so I was like, let's see what the other, like last year and the year before, were like. And 2024 I found this list. I don't know how used it was, and it's really hard to read, but here too I'm pretty sure I saw, like, I'm not gonna read through all of this, but I saw like gunplay, which can be considered immoral, ABO, hits and ruts, which some people also consider like non-con or like dub con, stuff like that. Knife play, stuff like that, which it's pretty tame compared to 2025. So I went 1 year back again, 2023, and this one I remember because I just turned 18 in 2023. Okay, so I was kind of interested in Kinktober because of course I never participated or really been a part of it before because I was a minor, and I remember this list specifically. I did not participate because again I don't really care for it. I remember I did like Promptober, which is another thing, another list, and that too can be changed, etc. But in this one, there are things that could be considered like immoral again, like non-con, or there was also, I don't remember which day, there is like dubcon, which, dubious consent, pet play, somophilia again. Kinktober was never like this chaste, pure make love thing, okay? It's literally kinks, okay? And as much as we may want to ignore that, kinks can also be considered immoral. And now I want to open a discourse in fiction specifically. I want to specify that I am completely against, of course, like I think everyone should be against this, so I don't know anyway. Of course I am against rape, I'm against grooming, incest, pedophilia, like clearly, of course. But when exploring fiction, we have to remember that not everything can be taken at face value. I'm gonna start from like the obvious, which is how immoral can immoral things be. If I write a story where the protagonist has been groomed and the story is about how they get groomed, and I don't know, it contains rape or implied rape and stuff like that. Is it immoral? Because I'm telling a story. I'm not particularly romanticizing the grooming. I'm telling about an experience that some people may have, lived through. So is it still immoral? Is it still censorship worthy? And I also want to say that I am against censorship of any kind. But we have to consider that just because something is immoral does not mean that every depiction of that thing is immoral, okay? Like, in many movies, rape is used in bad ways, in my opinion. Like as shock value, okay? American Horror Story uses rape as shock value, and I got to like season 4 of American Horror Story and I had to stop watching because it happened for the second time in 4 seasons or like 5 that a guy was raped either to death or after death, which triggers me a lot. And it's just shock value because it doesn't add really to the story or anything. It's just shock value. It's just to make the viewer go like, what the actual fuck? So, like, in my opinion, that was unnecessary. I'm sorry, words are really difficult right now. But I don't mean to say that they shouldn't have the right to add that in, because as much as I think it's unnecessary and it could have been avoided, they have every right to write that in because it's their story, literally. And I, as the viewer, should have the ability to choose if I can or cannot watch that certain thing. One thing I really hate, by the way, about American Horror Story is that they don't really give a specific warning for rape, and I think they should, because rape is not like murder. Like, normally speaking, most people did not go through murder, so murder is not triggering for me, while rape is really triggering for me because I went through that. And, I don't want to see that if I can. If I can avoid it, I don't want to see that. But that's another thing, trigger warnings are another whole thing. So, just because something is immoral does not mean that it doesn't deserve a place in fiction, because as much as we want to ignore it, certain immoral things happen in real life, and fiction is a mirror of real life. It mirrors real life, I also added in my list that, like, also how immoral can fanfiction be? Because let's say in a certain piece of media, the incest is canonical, and most things that have canonical incest, I think, are animes. But like, let's say I'm watching an anime and the incest is canonical, and I write a fanfiction where there is incest, of course, because it's canonical. Is it less immoral than if I took a piece of fiction and turned it incestuous, even if it wasn't? Or, like, where do we draw the line? Whenever I talk about censorship, I always think, where do we draw the line? Because again, if in a piece of fiction 2 characters are related and they're also dating, is it less immoral if I write of them dating in my fanfiction, since it's, canon that they are siblings and dating, for example? Also, if the original piece of work where I take the certain thing, the certain couple, I'm thinking specifically of Flower of the Attic. If you haven't read the book or seen the movie, I would say, like, give it a try, because it's, in my opinion, a good representation of abuse. And in the book and the movies, because there are 2, if I'm not mistaken, the siblings, the older siblings, are not, I wouldn't say dating, but like they get into a relationship because of the abuse. If I write a fanfiction of Flowers in the Attic and I depict this relationship that is canonical, and it's not portrayed as romantic, but it's portrayed as a coping mechanism for trauma, for the abuse that these kids go through, is it, again, less immoral, or is it just as immoral because I'm still writing incest? Like, where do we draw the line? Again, where do we draw the line? We can't have a rule that encapsulates everything, because that's not how fiction works. That's not how stories works. You would never find two stories that are exactly the same, to which the same rule would apply exactly the same way. Also, talking about the Kinktober list, I've seen that a lot of people focus a lot on the incest or age play part, and they ignore completely other things that are just as immoral. Like as immoral, I'm saying again, in the context of reality, those things are immoral. Like incest is as immoral, in my opinion, as somnophilia if it's not consensual, or like rape. Of course, it's just as immoral. I don't even know if immoral is the right word, but people mostly focus on the incest and age play part and kind of forget about the somnophilia. Why is age play or incest worse than somnophilia? Again, where do we draw the line? Now, I'm gonna be extremely honest in this part, because I'm gonna talk about like how certain things can be used as a coping mechanism. So first of all, I have to preface this by saying that I am a survivor of sexual assault and also grooming in two different instances. I did not get sexually assaulted by my groomer and vice versa. Those were two different instances. But either way, again, sometimes not with the grooming much, but with the sexual assault, I tend to read or write fiction about sexual assault to cope with my own trauma. The same way, like sometimes I can do that, some other times I cannot. I can't stand sexual assault in fiction because it's either treated a different way, or maybe I wasn't in the right headspace and stuff like that. But again, we have to remember that just because someone writes something does not mean that either it gets them off or they like it. They can just be wanting to explore a certain dynamic, which in my opinion is very fair, and everyone should like get the chance to explore certain things without, putting themselves in danger, for example. And also some other people, like me, want to have that sort of closure in fiction. They want to cope with their trauma through fiction. Whenever I can't sleep at night because I am having flashbacks, or I'm not, my head keeps replaying that thing that happened to me, I find comfort in fan fiction, and I find comfort reading, for example, my favorite character going through something similar to me and coming out as a full person, I need a moment, sorry. What I'm trying to say is that, again, people write fiction to cope sometimes, and it wouldn't be right to take that away from them, because it really helps, and it's even proved by psychiatrists, that sometimes writing about your trauma can help you cope with it. Me personally, I don't have a psychologist currently because I can't afford it, but I have a friend that went through a similar thing that to mine, in different contexts. Of course, it was different situation, but a similar thing. And they go to their psychologist. Their psychologist one time asked them to write a story from the point of view of someone else, and that someone else lived through the same thing that my friend lived through. And in that way, my friend was supposed to cope with their trauma. And they were also supposed to send it over to their psychologist that would read it through and try to understand them better. That's a whole other thing. But part of the coping mechanism was write the story from the point of view of someone else. So take away your experience from yourself. I don't know how to say, take a step back from that experience and elaborate it from the point of view of someone else. And of course, you can write it from an OC's perspective, so you can make an original character and write a story about that. Or you can take an already existing fictional character and be like, you know what, I'm gonna write about X character going through what I went through, for example, or something similar. This next part may be controversial, I'm not sure, but the Kinktober event is a not safe for work event, and it is made for adults. If a child sees the event and is disgusted by it, that's not on the event creators, because that is not an event for them. Again, Promptober, for example, is an event open for everybody because it's safe for work. Of course, you can write not safe for work things with Promptober, but the event itself is safe for work, so everyone can participate. If you are a child and you decide to go on an adult's page that does an adults event, an adults only event, and look through the prompts and then get disgusted by it, I'm sorry to say, but that's on you. Like, you don't have, no one's forcing you to go through the the Kinktober list and read through it. Like, I don't know what to say. I've been on TikTok for a while, and some people were like, oh, but kids exist on the internet, so like adults should not post these kind of things on the internet. Where should they post it? Like, of course kids exist on the internet. I know, I was a kid on the internet. But at the same time, there are spaces for adults and spaces for children. If, for example, on my page I have minors do not interact, and you, a minor, decide to interact, that's on you. I did all I could do, literally, because it's not like I can get into your computer and be like, you are not gonna interact with me. I'm gonna block myself from your account, because I can't do that. The most I can do, again, is write minors do not interact. And that's it. Like, it's like saying, I don't know, I'm 16 and I go buy alcohol with a fake ID. I'm saying 16 because where I live you can buy alcohol at 18, but I don't know, let's say I'm even 18 and I go buy alcohol with a fake ID. They sell me alcohol, then I get out of the shop and I make a video being mad that they sold me alcohol. I did everything on my own. I did everything myself. Why am I mad that they sold me alcohol after I asked for alcohol and pretended to be an adult that could buy alcohol, you know? Again, that's the same reason why I said, if you're a kid, do not interact with this video, leave. I will probably make safe for work videos, I don't know, videos that can be family friendly, but this one is not one of them because it's about a not safe for work event for adults. I've also heard, like, someone told me, like, adults should not talk about Kinktober on spaces like TikTok or Instagram because those are kid spaces. And I'm like, every social is a kid space if you squint hard enough, because most socials I went and checked before the video can be accessed at 13. Tumblr, TikTok, fucking Instagram, Twitter, I'm pretty sure too, maybe 15, but like most sites can be accessed as a minor, most socials, sorry, can be accessed as a minor. That does not make the social minor friendly or like a minor space. Because if I'm an adult posting adult things on my adult account, that's clearly not a child-friendly space. One last thing I want to say is that, in my opinion, comparing, for example, age play with actual pedophilia, or comparing consensual, non-consent, so CNC, with actual rape is very disrespectful to people that have gone through certain things. And this is my opinion as a survivor myself. I'm a survivor, again, of sexual assault and grooming. And in my opinion, two consenting adults that take part, again, consensually in a certain act like CNC or age play is not comparable to my trauma. Like, there are three main differences that I can think of between, like, for example, CNC and rape, like actual rape, or age play and actual pedophilia. Number one, like age play and CNC do not give lasting damage if they're done correctly, which I'm assuming they are, because, you know, you should not take part in certain things if you don't know how to do them correctly. So again, I'm assuming these kinks are done the right way. If they're done correctly, they're not giving you lasting damage. You're not gonna have nightmares, flashbacks. You're not gonna stay up at night because your literal trauma is keeping you up at night. While my actual real trauma is keeping me up at night. It's giving me nightmares. It's giving me flashbacks. And I cannot like turn that off. And I cannot stop. Like I could not stop that action that happened to me when it was happening. While CNC can be stopped at any moment. Age play can be stopped at any moment. It's not something that is like once it started, there is no way to stop it anymore. Number two, those things are between, like CNC and age play, are between two consenting adults. That, again, that is not what happens in rape, sexual assault, and actual pedophilia. That is not what happened. When I was groomed, I was 14, and my groomer was 19. When I was assaulted, I was not consenting, of course, to that act. Okay. Well, again, CNC and age play is consensual, and it's between adults. I actually put like the 2 points together, that the thing is they're consensual and between adults, which they were 2 different points, but I squished them together. I feel like it's disrespectful, at least again in my opinion. This is the opinion of one survivor. If you're a survivor and you have a different opinion, that's completely valid, of course. But in my opinion, comparing like kinks that are consensual, etc., like CNC, comparing CNC to sexual assault is extremely disrespectful, and I would feel extremely disrespected if someone told that to me directly. It's like when people were like, oh, I got sexually assaulted by what the fuck, a character AI or whatever. What? Like, let's be real. Let's be for real for a moment. You did not get sexually assaulted by character AI. So in my opinion, it's kind of the same thing. If it's consensual, it cannot be non-consensual. It's in the name, consensual non-consent, for example, or age play, it's a play pretend. Now, you can argue that like, oh, if you like age play or if you like consensual non-consent, then it means that at least a part of you likes rape or likes children, which I don't think that's true, honestly, but I don't really know, because I don't have any experience with people that are into age play. I don't have friends that are into age play, and I don't even have a relationship with anyone that is into CNC, like as a sexual thing, not as a coping mechanism or things like that. So I cannot talk in that regard, but I remember one of my friends once said, I would rather someone, like, they also went through something similar to me. I know we have like the little friend group of traumatized kids. My friend said, I would rather someone that is into rape goes out and like does consensual non-consent with a consenting adult than goes out and actually rapes someone. It's, if that's a thing, again, I don't know if that's a thing, because I feel like you have to be really careful when talking about kinks and certain things, because it's different for everyone, number one, and I think that the person in control of the situation in any kind of kinks, like, I know that it's not like I know that a person that is in control has to be in control of themselves as well. They cannot slip, they cannot like forget themselves even for a moment, because they have another person's well-being in their hand. The whole thing to me sounds kind of dumb, because let's say that my partner is into impact play. Does that mean that they like being abused? Or like I'm into impact play and I don't know, I slap my partner across the face during the sexy times. Does it mean I would slap my partner out of the bed? Absolutely not. I would not do that in bed either, because I would feel too guilty. But let's say I would. Like, does that mean that I am into abuse, that I would like to abuse my partner? Of course not. It's a power dynamic that gets put in place in the bedroom, because let's be real, some people like that kind of power dynamic. Some people like to be held down maybe, or to be humiliated, or they like to be bossed around. that does not mean that they like being bossed around or humiliated in real life, like outside of the bedroom. Last thing, this is a bit hard for me to explain, okay, because it's around the sentence fiction does not impact reality or fiction does impact reality. Me personally, I don't know exactly how I feel about either of those statements, because in my opinion, if you are a fully developed adult, you should be able to separate fiction from reality. So if I write a book, like again, let's take an actual book that people can read. If for example, I read Lolita, okay, I, as a fully developed adult, I don't know, some people, there are different theories. Some people say that like you're fully developed at like 25. I don't know, I consider myself fully developed. But like me as an adult, a fully developed adult, I read Lolita and I understand that it's not a love story. I understand that it's not to be romanticized because I am an adult. And as one, I should be able to say, okay, this is fiction, and the things that happen in this fiction should not be taken as like an example, should not be romanticized, etc. That goes also with like dark romance. I don't like dark romance books, but I once tried to read Hunting Adeline to see what it was about. And again, I didn't like it. I think it was a mid book at best. But as an adult, I understand that it's all fiction, it's a fantasy, that probably the writer was kind of into certain things that went on in the book, and maybe they wanted, like, I don't know, I think that the author is a woman, but anyway, maybe the author wanted to explore a certain dynamic, again, a certain thing, maybe again, they're into that kind of stuff. It's not, my place to judge. But that book, Hunting Adeline, for example, was written for a public of adults that read that and know that, oh yeah, it can be hot maybe to like role play as a maniac and the girl or whatever. I don't know, I didn't finish it, or like to read about it, to fantasize about it, but they know that of course in real life they would not want that. Okay, if a 16 years old girl reads Hunting Adeline and thinks, oh, I really want like a maniac stalker boyfriend to be into me, that is not the writer's fault. That is the child's fault. Not the child even, like that's, I think, first of all, it's the library's fault, because libraries should not sell books that are 18 or plus to children's. I think they should ask for an ID to sell certain kind of books, and I will stand on that. And that's also kind of the parents' fault, because why aren't you checking on your child? Like literally, I'm not saying you have to check on every, like be an helicopter parent or whatever, but you should check what your children are reading or consuming in general, because that can have bad influences on them. And as a parent, that's your job to check on your children. Okay, to finish off this whole reality, like fiction and reality thing, does fiction affect reality? No, I don't think it does. If you are smart enough to elaborate fiction and separate fiction from reality, you have to be smart enough to separate fiction from reality. And you cannot separate fiction from reality if either you're a child or you have some other kind of problem, some kind of developmental issues, or even if you're just illiterate. And I'm from Italy, which it's a better situation than most, but I know in America many people are illiterate, which is very, very worrying, because if you're illiterate, you cannot separate fiction from reality, and you cannot understand the message of a book. Like you're reading Lolita and maybe you think it's a love story because you're illiterate and you don't understand the actual message of the book. That is not the fault of the writer. I think writers are not to held accountable for their readers. That does not mean that writer can get away with anything and everything, because writer can do fucked up shit. I don't remember exactly what the title of the book was, but I remember the writer that got in big trouble, and I think they got arrested for writing an age play romance where the love interest was actually interested in the female protagonist since she was like 3, which that's fucked up. And I'm sure like the author did not get arrested or did not get prosecuted for the book, but I'm pretty sure they found weird shit on their computer that they were like, this person's kind of weird, this person's in the head. So yeah, again, so I don't mean that authors should not be held accountable for anything, because it's the reader's fault if they can separate reality from fiction. But authors are not responsible for their readers' actions. This was a whole rambling session, and this was it kind of went off the rails. It was about Kinktober, so, but the whole discourse, in my opinion, has a bigger scale, bigger scope, if you will, and this was just my opinion as a survivor of like certain things that people were discussing. And as I said, if you have a different opinion, feel free to like respectfully leave it in the comment, or I don't know, you can block me if you want, you can stop following if you're following me. But, and again, like, do your own researches. First of all, I said that this already in the last video I made. Do your own researches, come to your own conclusions. That's the most important thing. And if your conclusions are different than mine, that's okay. We can discuss it respectfully, we can talk about it, or we can just ignore each other. That's cool too, I think I said all I had to say. So I don't know what this video will be called, because it was about Kinktober, but again, I went off the rail to talk about censorship, I guess. So that's cool. I wanted to talk about censorship at some point anyway. If you liked the video, comment, leave a like, maybe subscribe. I got like 10 subscribers with my last video, which is pretty cool. Thank you guys. I hope I don't lose all of you in this video. Anyway, this was a fun experience, like fun except for the part I started crying, but that's okay. We'll see each other in the next video. Bye!